Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the Top Performer Panel Webinar. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. If you would like to ask a question during the presentation, please use the chat feature located in the lower left corner of your screen. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Wednesday, June 13th, 2018. I would now like to turn the conference over to Janet Hubbard. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. It's 12 noon here on the Eastern Time Zone. My name is Jan Hubbard. I'm with the Best and Brightest program, and I'd like to welcome you to the Elite Suite Education Series, and we're very pleased to bring you today's program because it is literally what you asked for. So housekeeping items first. As the operator instructed, you are invited to submit questions and comments in the chat feature, and I'll be monitoring these throughout the presentation, so please feel free to chime into the discussion. Following the program, you'll receive from me a SurveyMonkey evaluation. In that evaluation will be your opportunity to apply for 1 unit of continuing ed credit, and that will be the only way that you'll receive the certificate, so watch for that. So I'm really excited for today's program. We have leaders from Puma, from Cascade Engineering, and from LaSalle Network representing the best and brightest top performing companies. And each will present information on one of their unique best practices. And they'll share information on how this practice makes their company culture thrive. So without further ado, oh, I hate that, but yes, let's move forward. And our first presenter is Keith Mackey. He is the Director of Marketing Communications at Cascade Engineering. He's responsible for marketing strategy, brand architecture, digital marketing, advertising, and all the things that go along with that at Cascade. He's been there for 11 years, and Cascade Engineering does business worldwide with headquarters in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he's also a Western Michigan University graduate. Go Broncos!
Thank you.
Take it away, Keith.
Jan, good morning to everybody east of west of Grand Rapids, and good afternoon to everybody else. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today. Cascade Engineering is a triple bottom line company, and we believe that social, environmental, and financial capital are all equally important to us. All of our strategic decisions are made based on the positive impact they'll have on people, planet, and profit. And I'd like to introduce to all of you Fred Keller, our founder and CEO, along with a few of my coworkers.
People, planet, profit. Can we practice capitalism in a different way? I think we can. And we make plastics, mainly waste containers and recycling containers that you have out by the side of the road. My name is Fred Keller. I'm the founder and chair of Cascade Engineering. The objective is to solve social and environmental problems.
We don't have supervisors, so what happens is we have to learn the job throughout the whole plant. There's teams, and you work on that team for 1 whole week and then rotate.
Cascade's Welfare to Career program is our attempt to be able to make a business work that's good for people, where they really want to come to work. Said, why don't I put a social worker in your plant?
Everybody that comes from poverty, they're all determined to make it work. They are doing this for the first time in their lives. They're contacting people for help. My name is Joyce Gutierrez Marsh, and I worked for the Department of Human Services stationed at Cascade Engineering.
As my hours increased, my food stamps decreased, and I was a little bit nervous. My name is Amy Valderas. I am a team leader and an operator.
Everyone has the fear of transitioning off welfare, and they just need that little encouragement to make that step.
They care. I ain't used to nobody caring. I ain't used to that. My name is Leon Williams. I'm from Holly Springs, Mississippi, and I work at Cascade Engineering. I've been here for 9 months, and I'm an operator. In Mississippi, life I was living just street life, a violent life. Jobs were very rare. Couldn't go on like that no more. Well, that was the point of me moving from Mississippi, coming to Michigan, to start over, to leave all that behind.
The folks who are in poverty, we learned really wanted this opportunity, but they ran into barriers and they didn't know how to deal with them.
It could be transportation, domestic violence, daycare. We wanted to help them through these barriers so they could be more successful and keep their job.
They believed, Amy, you could do so much more. Amy, you have potential. I had to push myself, and I had to take those words in and just say, Amy, they're right. You can do this.
Cascade, they holding on to me just as much as I'm holding on to them. So when you reach and pick up somebody, they gonna get up. So they made me get up.
Cascade, it encompasses family, that they don't define you by your history. It's about the renewing of you.
By valuing people and being supportive of them, they actually transform their lives themselves.
My name is Jahan McKinley. People call me Jay. I am the manufacturing manager of the Bursman plant here at Cascade Engineering. I was a convicted felon. I was away 19 years.
And he said, I am very grateful for this job. It's my first job I've ever had, and I'm 36 years old. So he comes with his own motivation.
Oh, you're doing a great job. Appreciate it very much.
The biggest thing would be not trying.
1, 2.
And that's the thing that I really want to give my kids, is that you can do anything. You know, you can fall down doing it. But if you never try, to me, that's failure.
If they're thriving, the business will thrive. That is what we want to have as our model for capitalism, helping the human spirit thrive.
So as Fred said, and I think one of the main points he made in that video was that when people know they are valued and supported, they transform their lives. And that's been our observation over the many years that we've been doing these things. Our Welfare to Career program started in the mid to late 90s. And like any new venture, we had some almost comical failures. The first thing we did was we worked with the state to purchase a large passenger van, and we, because we're beyond the busing district for the urban community, and we had 6 welfare recipients that we selected, and one would be a driver of the van. They'd pick up the other 5 and come to Cascade Engineering and work. And after 2 weeks of that program, nobody showed up for work, including the van or the driver. So our first, I guess, awareness was that we had no idea what it was like for people in poverty to actually work for the first time in their lives. And secondly, our managers and supervisors who have a middle-class culture had never dealt with somebody coming from generational poverty. So we did extensive training here at Cascade Engineering. We had poverty simulations. We had diversity theater where we enacted racist situations that actually occurred here at Cascade. And we had all of our supervisors at the time, this was 1999, read Dr. Ruby Payne's Bridges Out of Poverty. So they could clearly understand what somebody coming into the workforce for the first time was dealing with. And the most monumental move we made was we worked with the state of Michigan, the Department of Human Services, and we were the first organization to ever hire a state-certified social worker to be on site at our facility. Her name was Joyce Gutierrez-Barr. She was in the video, and she retired just last year, but she was really the turning point between the success and failure of our Welfare to Career program. Because Joyce had the ability to befriend these people. She understood them. She could be a bridge between us at Cascade Engineering and these welfare recipients. She could ask questions that we couldn't ask. She could ask folks, are you pregnant? Are you on drugs? Do you have a safe environment for you and your children? And because of that interaction, she formulated friendships and got to know these people very well, and also had resources to provide transportation, daycare, safe housing that she had access to. So she was really the bridge between the success and failure of our Welfare to Career program, and also was instrumental in turning roughly 25% retention rates to the 98% they are today here at Cascade Engineering. We track them monthly. So over time, we've had about 1,000 people move through our Welfare to Career program, and now we even have second and third generation children working in our facilities. And what it taught us was that people, if they feel valued and supported, will transform their lives. And there's a great misconception about people collecting welfare benefits that they don't want to work. And we have proven that wrong numerous times, because these people are our hardest workers, are most enthusiastic, and they have really been important in making a transition from welfare to career here at Cascade. And the other thing it does is bond our workforce together, because they know when you're supportive and tolerant. All of us make mistakes in our lives. And when we're willing to give somebody a second chance, that's extremely important, and it's also noticed by their fellow employees. So the next thing we did as a byproduct of that is we developed our Returning Citizens program. And that program was really meant to hire people that had formerly been incarcerated. Most people on their business or employment applications have a spot where you check a box off whether or not you've been ever convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor. We don't have that box in our applications. We believe that somebody should be hired on their merit and their experience, and if in fact they had been convicted of a crime, at some point along the interview process, usually the second or third interview, we discuss that with them, the nature of the crime, what they are doing to reform themselves, and whether they should be given an opportunity here. And like the Welfare to Career program, we have 98% retention rates, and we've put probably 500 or 600 people through our Returning Citizens program. And it has been another very, very successful program. And both the Welfare to Career and Returning Citizens recipients have been extremely industrious. Many of them are our best workers. So today, to just give you an example, about 14% of our workforce of 1,900, and we are in throughout the United States, we also have facilities in Budapest, Hungary, are from these two programs. So that tradition continues, and as a result of those two programs, we decided that we really needed to state our purpose. So we were very clear with all of our employees how we felt about racism. So we developed an anti-racism statement, which I'll have Fred read to you now.
Cascade Engineering is an anti-racism organization. We define being an anti-racism organization as creating an environment where all employees, regardless of race or the color of their skin, know they are valued. We acknowledge that racism can be unconscious or unintentional, and identifying racism as an issue does not automatically mean those involved in the act are racist or intended the negative impact. As an anti-racism organization, we will purposely identify, discuss, and challenge issues of race and color and the impacts they have on the organization, its system, and its people. We will also challenge ourselves to understand and correct any inequities we may deliver within Cascade Engineering and gain a better understanding of ourselves during this purposeful process. Being an anti-racism organization is a journey, and it is the learning along the way that makes this work worth all of our efforts.
So let me address the elephant in the room, ROI. When presenting these programs, probably the most frequently asked question is, what's your ROI, return on investment, for these programs? And the answer is, it cannot be calculated. Because you can't calculate smiling faces, a content workforce, a place where people want to come to work. I know we've all been in a situation where you walk into a business or a manufacturing plant or a store, and within seconds of entering, you get the vibe. You sense the tension. It's almost palpable. And you realize that this place is a place where there is no energy, people are unhappy, there's tension in the air. And I can say that at our facilities, and any of you who are on this call are welcome to come and say hello to us here in Grand Rapids, you'd see people who truly do genuinely work together well, care for their coworkers, and they also are deeply engaged and happy to be here. So we see ROI in terms of attendance. We see ROI in terms of productivity, but it can't be calculated. And the other area that we see acceptance or ROI is in the customers we serve. They've chosen to do business with us because we're the company that we are. So I want to thank you for listening to me, and I wish you all the very best in your pursuits, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have either on this webinar or independently if you want to just reach out to me. Thank you.
Thanks very, very much, Keith. It was a great presentation. Can I ask you how did you roll out that anti-racist organization? I don't want to call it a policy, but
right. Well, we really felt it was important that we really made a statement and had a stance, because our employees are so important to us. Our world, the way it is today, unfortunately, has some extreme racial tension. And we really believe that we wanted our employees to know where we stood on that subject. So we have a 30-hour work ramping process that every employee goes through prior to their first day on the job. And we spend an inadvertent amount of time talking about this. So everybody is well aware of our policy before they even step into the plant to work or into our operations. So we rolled it out across our intranet, which we call ACE, and introduced it to all of our employees and explained to them, we want all of you to understand how much we value you as individuals and how much we value you as human beings. And to do so, we want to clearly state our position as an anti-racism organization.
Excellent. I applaud you for that, and congratulations to Cascade Engineering on all your excuse me, on all your many achievements, and especially putting people to work that haven't been before. I think that's absolutely wonderful. So thanks again. We're going to move on to Jessica Schaefer, who's with LaSalle Network. Jessica is the Chief of Staff of LaSalle Network, which is a national staffing, recruiting, and culture firm, and has more than 100 culture and revenue-based awards. Since joining LaSalle about 7 years ago, Jessica has spearheaded LaSalle's marketing efforts and has been integral in the development and retention of employees, contributing to the training and culture initiatives. She's on the board of directors for the Chicago American Marketing Association and Chicago SHRM. She's been quoted in Fast Company, Forbes. I'm going to say Ford because I'm a Detroiter, right? She writes frequently for Marketing News Magazine and has been featured on Fox, Good Day Chicago, ABC Chicago, and WGN. So Jessica, welcome, and thank you very much for giving us some details on LaSalle today.
Thank you, Jan. Thanks for having me. That was quite the intro, and Keith is a tough act to follow. Cascade is doing some amazing, amazing work. And so I'll do my best to tell you a little bit more about LaSalle Network and what we do here to keep our folks engaged and committed to our organization, which, as Jan mentioned, we're a staffing and recruiting firm. We're headquartered in Chicago, and we have an office in Nashville as well. We've been fortunate enough to be recognized as the best and brightest company for 7 years in a row. And we're just excited about the recognition and excited about being on the webinar today. So I'll give you a little peek under the hood here at LaSalle Network. We've been in business for about 20 years, and our founder and CEO, Tom Gimbel, created the company when he was 26. And his whole goal was to create an organization where people felt valued. And, Keith said it best, if people feel valued and supported, they will transform their lives and transform your organization. I added my own little caveat on to the end of that. But that is so true, and that's what our founder and CEO came into this business thinking. He wanted to create a place where people could be themselves, where they can really bring their true self to work, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because if they feel comfortable, they're going to do amazing work for you. And a big component of that is feeling recognized and feeling valued. And so one way we do that at LaSalle Network is through rebirthdays. And so I have a couple of pictures on the screens that are showing rebirthdays. But essentially, a rebirthday is your work anniversary, so a celebration of the past 365 days. We believe that to have a birthday, all you had to do is breathe, right? You didn't really control being born. Your mom and dad took care of that. But to have a rebirthday requires hard work and dedication and commitment. And so that's what these work anniversaries celebrate. And as you can see from the pictures, they're a really fun day. We decorate the employee's desk. The whole office gets decorated with balloons and streamers and pictures of them. And you get a rebirthday every single year. And so the folks featured in these pictures, Alan and Casey, have been with our organization a long time, 12 and 11 years. And so every year they get a party, and we celebrate their accomplishments from the past year. Our CEO gives a speech, their manager gives a speech, and they give a speech. We cater in food, and we have a little party. And as we've grown and gotten bigger, these have become more of a regular occurrence. And right now it's something it's a little bit different we're facing as we grow. We need to figure out how we're going to scale this tradition for ourselves because it is so important and people really, really value their rebirthday and they look forward to it from their very first day. And we need to figure out as an organization, how do we maintain the sentiment of these celebrations and how do we make sure that it's scalable and that every single rebirthday is important. So that's one tradition that we have here at LaSalle Network. As you can see from the next picture, we really like our balloons. We think whatever makes a kid happy will make an adult happy, and we found it to be true at our organization. Each year we celebrate our company anniversary, so we call it LaSallemas, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But we decorate the offices for awards that we've won, for our company anniversary, and what's neat is that our employees don't necessarily know that it's coming, so each year the decorations are a little bit different. So last year we celebrated 11 years on the Inc. 500 5000 list of fastest growing private companies. And we didn't announce it to our staff until the day it was announced publicly on Inc. And then we came in that night before at 9 o'clock at night and decorated all of our offices, our remote locations, our suburban locations, and it was really a huge celebration as our staff walked in that next morning. So that's the picture on the left, and the picture on the right is from one of our anniversary celebrations. It was our golden rebirthday as a company, so we were celebrating 17 years in business since we were founded on August 17th, and so everything was gold. That was our theme that year. We had gold floor runners and gold door decorations and all golden rebirthday snacks, and it was just really, really fun. And we did it all over the weekend. Our staff came in and transformed all of the offices, and it's just really neat to see our employees' faces when they walk in Monday morning and they see all the work that's already been done and just the excitement that it creates. Another program that we have is called Community Champions. And so this program came about probably 4 years ago, and it arose from our employees. And people said, you know, we work really, really hard at LaSalle. And we do a lot of amazing things as a company. And our company donates a lot of money to charities that we're passionate about. But we'd like a little bit of time to give back. We'd like to have some volunteer time off. We'd like to have a committee that's dedicated to organizing volunteer activities for our staff. we work a lot, and we'd like to kind of have it thought for us and say, these are all the opportunities that you can get involved with. And so we have a group of 8 employees who rotate every single year, and they plan all of the volunteer activities for our staff. They do a survey every year about the causes our employees want to be involved with, and then they organize volunteer opportunities from there, both during the workday and on weekends. And so one cause that we're really supportive of is called Habitat for Humanity, as many of you I'm sure know it. Actually, we have a build day coming up this Friday. We'll be building a home on the west side of Chicago, which should be fun. But we've done Habitat for Humanity for the past 2 years, and we found it's a great way to bring people together. It's a great way to do good. It's a great way to build relationships and rapport within our folks, and it's a great way to give back to the community that's given us so much as an organization. Couple other random things that we do that are a little bit fun. I'm sure a lot of your organizations do similar things, but at Halloween we host a costume contest, and it's evolved over the years and gotten more and more extreme, but this picture is actually my team, and we decided one year that we wanted to dress up and have participate in the costume contest, and so it's fun because so many people really go all out and put a lot of thought, a lot of effort into it. They do a lot of team costumes. But it's just a fun way to enjoy being at work, and it makes people look forward to being there on a day that maybe they don't want to be there. We work the day after Thanksgiving. We work the day after Christmas. And so a lot of times those are days that employees don't necessarily want to be in the office. So how can we make it fun? How can we make it an experience, whether it's catering and food or having Bloody Marys and mimosas or having a costume contest or whatever it may be, just making it fun and creating an experience for the folks that are there. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we do celebrate our company anniversary every single year. And so we call it LaSalmas because we say it's the best time of year, just like Christmas, but LaSalmas. And every year it's a surprise to our staff. And we celebrate the whole week long. We decorate the offices. We do gifts for our staff. And it culminates in a big party on a Friday. And so every year the party and the location are a surprise to staff, and we transport them to a location. We've rented out, if any of you have been to Chicago, we've rented out Second City and did a private comedy show. We have rented a Tall Ship Windy, a big sailboat in Chicago. We've rented out the Adler Planetarium, these really iconic buildings in Chicago, and just hosted a big party to celebrate all that we've accomplished throughout the past year, because it really is something that needs to be recognized and made sure that our people know we appreciate them and we know how much work you've been putting on, and we want to celebrate you. So one thing we like to do is create experiences. If you can't tell from all the past slides, there's been a common thread. We want to create experiences. We want to create memories for people that really bond folks together and have them have shared experiences. And so one way we do this is just by making things that might be ordinary or mundane a little bit less ordinary. Take transportation to and from a party. It could be as easy as loading everybody up into school buses or loading everybody up into a limo, but we decided to mix it up. And one year we rented about 15 horse and carriages, and we lined them up on LaSalle Street in Chicago, which if you've ever been to Chicago, it is one of the most iconic streets, and it ends in the Board of Trade. And imagine 15 horse-drawn carriages on LaSalle Street at 5 o'clock at night, right? Rush hour, it's traffic, and there's all these horse and carriages. It was incredible. And then we transported our staff to our celebration that year for our company anniversary, LaSalmas. So just something fun and different. About 5 years ago, we decided to mix it up again. We said, we do sales incentive trips, and we think those are great, and they reward our salespeople, and they work really hard. But all of our people work really, really hard. And we instituted a fourth quarter goal. And we decided that if we hit our fourth quarter goal, we were going to take the whole company away for an incentive trip. Because truly, it's not just about our salespeople. If our salespeople hit their quotas, that doesn't mean we hit our goal. Our recruiters need to hit their goals. Our back office support teams, our marketing team, our HR team, our finance team, they play a big part. Our office assistants, everybody plays a big part in achieving our goal. And so the past couple of years, we've been fortunate enough to hit our goals. And we've gone to San Francisco and Napa Valley, and we visited Alcatraz and did a winery tour in Napa. We've gone to Miami. We've gone to Nashville. We've had some incredible experiences. And the whole goal for that, again, is to create shared experiences, to create memories that people are never going to forget with our organization. And so the picture on the left is actually me, and the picture on the right is one of my colleagues. But when we went to Miami, one of the things our CEO wanted to do was take everyone who wanted to go deep sea fishing. He thought, when are we ever going to have an opportunity? How many people have ever been deep sea fishing before? Let's do this. Let's take our people deep sea fishing. And so it was my first and probably my last time, but I went deep sea fishing and I caught a shark. And I got to tell you, that's a memory that I will never forget. And that's the whole goal for us, is to create experiences that make people create relationships here, that make people want to stay. Because work isn't easy. We work a lot. And spouses and boyfriends and sisters, mothers, brothers, whomever, there'll always be people who say, why are you working so hard? Or how come you're still at the office? And our hope is that we've shown people that we've invested in them, that we've recognized them, that we've created experiences and memories and bonds with our employees that they'll want to stay, even through times that maybe aren't so good. And ultimately, I think the big thing that we've realized over the years, the 20 years that we've been in business, is we believe that we're a great place to work. We've been fortunate to have been recognized for 7 years as a Best and Brightest company and by a number of other publications as a great place to work. But ultimately, we're only a best place to work for the people who want to work here. This isn't the right environment for everybody. Some of you may be looking at my slide saying, that would never work for my company, or that is way too extreme for my organization. And that is completely fine. It's all about finding what works for your organization and what motivates your people and how your employees like to be recognized. And so we believe organizations are a best place to work for the folks who want to work there. So hopefully that was a helpful overview, quick and dirty, of some of the things that we do and tools that we do to engage and retain our folks.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Jessica, I have one main question for you. What in the world is going on with the Las Vegas showgirls in that LaSalle picture?
So we brought in flamenco dancers and a band, and it was incredible. They were outside the Adler Planetarium, and it was just another kind of crazy idea that our CEO had, and our employees loved it. We learned how to flamenco dance, and we were just outside, in front of the planetarium dancing.
Excellent. And for those of you who, I just think it's too much fun. Those of you who may not have heard their CEO and his webinar in the past, I believe it is posted on the Best and Brightest website. It's their whole culture is absolutely amazing, and he shares some of the other how-tos and best practices on their webinar. So thank you very much, Jessica. I really appreciate it. We're going to move ahead now to Kate Arminetti. Raise your hand if you don't know what Puma is. I don't see anybody raising their hand. So, okay, Puma is a sports equipment organization. Can I sum it up like that, Kate?
Sure.
Okay, mostly shoes, because we all know that logo, right? Kate is head of human resources at Puma. She's headquartered in Boston, Mass., and they have worldwide operations. So how many employees do you have there, Kate?
In Boston, we have about 150.
Okay. And worldwide?
About 12,000.
Whoa. All right. Take it away.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jan. As she mentioned, I have the luxury of most people knowing what Puma is, but I thought what I would do to start is sort of frame what we're going to talk about today, and then also what it is here in Boston. So going through specifically how we tend to attract and retain talent, I wanted to talk about our working parent culture as a main topic today. It's a big focus of ours. And then some of the conversations we're having internally now about how do we evolve in that respect. And then finally, time for some Q&A afterwards. So I am part of the Global Puma Blueprint. However, as Jen mentioned, we sit here in Boston, Massachusetts on the East Coast. So it's a little bit of a unique setup that tends to confuse folks, so I wanted to give you a little bit of background. So the Puma Boston office is considered a global office. Around the world, we have 12,000 employees on all continents. Puma North America specifically has 2 offices in Massachusetts, one being in Westford, Massachusetts, which is about 35 miles west of Boston. That is 375 employees and is our regional North American headquarters. So think things like sales and operations, customer service, local merchandising, G&A functions. Boston, Mass, where I'm based, is considered an international hub. So we technically report into Germany, which is where our company is based. A little fun fact about Puma, for those of you that don't know, Puma was started after 2 brothers started a footwear company in Herzogenaurach, Germany, which is just outside Nuremberg. The brothers got in a fight back in the 50s, and one left and started Puma. The other one is Adidas. So for those of you familiar with Adidas, you will know that it's a little bit bigger than Puma, but they both still are headquartered in Nuremberg, Germany, which is outside Nuremberg, Germany, which is a very random little town in Bavaria. So that's the history of how Puma came to be. In addition, in Puma North America, we have Cobra Puma Golf, which is our golf hub. It's based in Carlsbad, California. There's about 160 folks there. And then Puma Canada, which is currently in transition to centralize out of our regional headquarters in Westford. So for Boston's Best and Brightest, or Best and Brightest, I should say, we were fortunate enough to be selected winners the last few years for our Massachusetts locations under the Boston Best and Brightest umbrella. So specifically Puma Boston. So as I mentioned, Puma Boston is a global office. So we have direct line reporting into our headquarters in Germany. We're one of 3 Puma headquarters, obviously the main one in Germany, Boston, and then also Hong Kong. Our office mix is product teams, so think folks that actually touch product, shoes and clothes specifically, and then also our global marketing team. So we have daily communications with Asia and Europe. So I always say, excuse me, I wake up to Germany, I come to work for Boston, and I go to bed with Hong Kong. So every day work is a continuum that we manage. We have an incredibly diverse office. So we have 30 visa holders in the Boston office alone from all over the world, in addition to working students that are sent here from Germany and global interns. So it presents a real unique challenge from an HR perspective, not just getting them visas, which in today's day and age is not easy, but also working with an employee population that has no one sole experience. They're from all over the world. So pretty cool. We have a downtown Boston location, so within a 5 square mile radius, we also have the headquarters of Converse, which is owned by Nike, and then most recently moved to Boston is Reebok. So Reebok used to be based in a suburb of Boston, and they recently moved into downtown Boston. Reebok, for those of you that don't know, is owned by Adidas. So we have essentially Nike, which is owns Converse, Puma, and Adidas, all within 5 square miles. So it's a little bit of a footwear hub here in Boston. We have 60,000 square feet, and it's largely an open office space by design. Because we have so many product designers and creative minds, we felt like we really needed to design a space that would inspire and be able to allow visualization for employees about an urban setting and what is trending for our consumers. So attraction and retention. So one of the cool fun facts also about Puma is that our average age of employee is 32, which makes me a lot older than most of the employees in Puma Boston. God bless them. So as a result, we need to rely on non-monetary benefits to offset some competitive compensation practices. I always say Puma does not lead the market in pay, and as I mentioned, we've got some local competitors that do. So we have to differentiate ourselves and make Puma a really fun place to work to fit into our employees' lives. So we're a global brand, so work is fun. I always say, I'm the only person I know where my meetings include topics like Rihanna and Selena Gomez, who are some of our celebrity partnerships. We have a high level of global travel for employees, so employees at a very early point in their career are able to quite literally go all over the world for work. And we have big jobs for small experience, meaning that I always say come to Puma and you're going to get a job you're probably not qualified for, and you're going to get an experience far richer than what you'll get at some of our competitors. In terms of our work culture, we really try to promote a remote working culture in Boston, which may be different from other parts of the country. To live in the Boston area, you likely need both parents to work. Daycare is also significantly expensive. I have a child that just entered the school system. Up until then, I was paying $26,000 a year just for daycare. So it's really important that we embrace that and we let our employees know that we're all in the same boat and that you have to live your life, you have to be a parent, and you have to work, and that does not mean you have to be in the office every single day from 9 to 5:30. Those days we feel are ending. I also always say that I don't believe my daughter will go to an office every day, and she'll be shocked that I used to get up and drive into the city every day to go to work and turn around and pick her up by 6 o'clock every day. We're also trying to kill the cube farms. We feel very strongly that as the workplace progresses, that gone are the days where you have big set desks that are just yours, that you may come to work and work on a couch. You may go to a coffee shop and work from there. You may go to a park. You may be at home. But I don't need six feet of space to be able to put pictures of my family and printers and papers that I tend not to ever look at again. So a working parent culture. We have dedicated space within our office for what we call our parent-child offices, which are space equipped with computer workstations, phones, printers, but also toys for children, chalkboard paint, puzzles, TVs, video games. So when you're tasked with having to come to work with your child because either it's a snow day or they just weren't up for school that day, or it's April vacation or February vacation, then we want to make sure that our employees know their children are welcome here. We also have what we call mother's rooms, which are on-site lactation rooms for our nursing mothers. We also have Summer Fridays, which is a growing popular benefit these days, but we try to communicate it to employees that we encourage this time to be spent with your family, especially as children break for the summer. In addition, about a year and a half ago, we just increased our maternity leave to 14 weeks paid maternity leave, and that does not include any additional vacation supplement that employees are encouraged to use. And that was really a direct line into our philosophy about supporting working parents. We try to, again, support the remote working culture. We have a lot of people here that split their time between the Boston office and the regional office in Westford, and then also at home. As is with most cities, traffic is a nightmare in Boston, so getting into work can sometimes take an hour to an hour and a half of your time. And so if there are days that you can manage it, then we expect you to maximize your time at home versus coming in. I'm very, very fortunate that the leaders that I support here in Boston model this behavior. They're both working parents, including myself. And they both put a priority and a premium on making sure that they practice what they preach. And so from an HR perspective, it makes my life a lot easier when we're actually saying and doing what we preach. We also offer discounts at local daycare chains, and as I mentioned, in the Boston area, daycare is as much as college, so that is greatly appreciated and taken advantage of from our employees. So how do we evolve? Again, this is a conversation that we're having right now globally, and we really want to be able to design a space that speaks to the Puma culture around the world. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, really getting into what we call hut desks or flex desk concepts, which is every day you come to work and you may sit in a different place. The key is that you have the equipment to be able to do your job from anywhere. We have a very high travel population, so to be able to invest the cost and having a dedicated space for an employee who maybe is sitting there 10 times a month just does not make sense. Less cubes, more informal meeting space, and breaking the mindset of set workspace. We also talk a lot about how does work in your life intersect. How can your job at Puma not be your job? As I said earlier, when you're dealing with a global brand, you're waking up and going to bed with people all over the world. So therefore, out the window goes the concept of my job ends at 5 o'clock, but also goes out the window the concept of my job begins at 8:30. So we're really trying to put some framework around how do we do that and how do we have employees live that every day. We're also talking about some progressive benefits that hopefully we can implement in 2019 to help speak to this. One is an unlimited vacation model. We can do this in the U.S. because we have a very different mentality to vacation than our European friends who have much more vacation time than we do and tend to really use it. Studies have shown that if you have an unlimited vacation model, chances are employees are taking less time than if they actually have set time each year to take. In the Boston office, I'm also finding no one's putting their vacation time into the system. So at the end, vacation time is really just more of an administrative nightmare when it comes to accruals. We're also looking at sabbatical benefits. So something that I'm hearing a lot about locally is after 5 to 10 years of service, you're encouraging employees to take a break beyond a week or two. You're encouraging employees to take a good 4 weeks off to really recharge and spend time with their family. Another thing is to promote global cultural awareness, is to give an allowance each year to allow employees to travel outside the U.S. We don't want to be too centric in any one country that employees are in, so we want to encourage them to lift their head up if their job does not allow them to travel, and personally be very thirsty about what else the world has to offer. So those are things that we're talking about now. How do we evolve? Again, mobility. So we are spending a lot of time and a lot of investment in identifying talent, and so as a result, we have to invest in some mobility resources to make sure that if someone is going to another country and going to continue working for Puma, that we're supporting them in the best way that we can. You know, as I mentioned, many folks have young families, so to get up and leave and go to China for a year is probably pretty overwhelming, and we have to make sure that Puma can support them in doing so. We also need to do some internal PR on what and where Puma can take you. We have a lot of folks from the Boston office accept jobs in Germany, and we need to do a better job about how to tell those stories and those success stories to get people aware that that's something that they can take advantage of. You know, and in the end, really wanting to make sure that Puma is a place that people can invest their life. So really taking it just being a job away. When you're dealing with a company like Puma and topics like Puma, you get people that are just innately passionate about the things that we do every single day. And so how can we make sure that we retain that passion throughout their career? And that's it. And then I have a space here for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Kate. This is outstanding. I am truly impressed with the innovation within your organization, and look to places like Toys R Us that are dying because they didn't innovate and find new practices and new ways to do business. So congratulations to you. Love the story about the background, too, of the two brothers in Germany. Had no idea that was the case.
Yep. One is named Adolf, Adidas. That's where that comes from.
No kidding. That's so cool.
Yep.
Tell me personally, or tell us, how you manage those time zones.
Steve Jobs, he gave me an iPhone, and as a result, I literally lie in bed. I put myself to bed every night at 9:30, and that's when all the Hong Kong and Vietnam emails are coming in, because they're 11 to 12 hours ahead in the next day. So if I don't do it then, I miss them. And so I usually spend about 45 minutes before I go to bed or before I start to read to get all that off my plate. And then when I wake up, I do the same with Germany. Now, that said, I also take advantage of that, and I'm able to drive my daughter to school every day. I'm able to take calls in the car. I'm able to come into the office between 9:30 and 10, which is off commuting hours. And then I have to leave at 4:30 to drive home and pick her up. So as a result of me having that flexibility and being able to work from home when I can manage it, that's the sacrifice that I make at night and in the morning.
Excellent. Love it. Let me ask all of our panelists to get back on the line and tell me if you have questions for each other or point out a best practice that you learned today that you might try to implement in your company.
This is Keith, and I just want to congratulate my co-presenters, and I think the common thread that we all have is how much we value our employees and how much we recognize that they decide our fate. I think it's commendable what everybody's doing, and just the energy and the passion that we all have for the people that work with us.
Absolutely. Jessica, I have a question for you. I often hear from HR people that when you have something like a volunteer planning committee to plan activities for the organization, you don't always get hands raised. Do you assign that, or are people eager to get involved?
That's a great question. So the way we have it structured right now is that every year it turns over at the start of the year. So in about November, we put out a call, our head of HR puts out a call to see who would like to participate and be a part of our Community Champions Committee. And those who express interest are asked to write a little essay, a couple paragraphs, nothing crazy, and submit it to our head of HR and our CEO about why they'd like to participate. And so far we've been through a couple iterations of this, and we've always had people that have raised their hands. What's interesting is that it varies between tenure. A lot of times we'll have really new, really eager folks who want to participate, but maybe they don't have the bandwidth work-wise to be able to actually dedicate the time, and so maybe they're not the best person for the committee. And other times we have people who have been here for 5, 7, 10 years, and they really want to get involved. And so it's been a nice smattering. We haven't seen it just being really new people or just really senior people. We have a nice blend, which also lends towards building relationships. Building relationships and creating a community.
And how about people signing up for the activity itself? You usually get a big crowd. Go ahead.
That's a great question. So what's interesting about that is we have a number of different types of volunteer activities throughout the year. So, for example, right now we're in the thick of it with Special Olympics. We just did bowling a couple weeks ago. We're going to do tennis, and we're going to do softball. And so people who are really passionate about Special Olympics, we've seen a lot of folks raise their hands. There are other causes that are a little bit more niche that we haven't had as big of a turnout. So I guess it probably depends on what LaSallians are passionate about, what their work schedule looks like that week that we have opportunities, and whether they know of the cause.
Very good. Here's a question for Kate. How much of what your culture is driven by, wait a minute, the generation is catering to with an average of age of 32? Can you read this too, Kate? Is that how you are able to get the culture implemented?
Was the leadership reluctant at first, or were they excited? Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I mean, you have to look at who your employee population is and say, okay, what will resonate with them? And it's a huge waste of time, effort, and resources if I'm putting in place programs and culture shifts that they don't really care about. So I've been at Puma for 5.5 years, and I'm really, really fortunate that the way it's been set up for this office is I'm considered as part of the leadership team with the general manager and the global marketing lead. And so between the three of us, and because the office isn't that big, and because we have autonomy, we're able to really get close to what the needs are. So most definitely, I mean, every month there's the announcement of a new pregnant employee, which is very exciting, but at the end of the day, they come back and they have needs that they now understand. Wow, my child will get sick, or I have to go to Germany for a week and a half, which means when I come back, I'm going to work from home for a few days to come and get acclimated again. And we have to break this culture of we're managing people by when they're sitting at their desk and when they're leaving. And I've had to do a lot of work and bring in a lot of training around how do you manage work and not time. And, I have the luxury to be able to do that. I know, Keith, for example, a lot of your population, they have to be at work and they have to be able to do work on the grounds. That's not necessarily the case here. And so we had to kind of move the needle forward. But again, because we're in this international location and we're not quite the region and we're not quite Germany, obviously, we have a lot more flexibility and freedom than I've certainly experienced in the past, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
And how is your organization's philosophy on giving back or philanthropy or anything like that? Are you able to do team building with that kind of thing like Jessica does?
Yep, so part of our benefits package includes 2 paid days off for volunteer or community service. So that is something that we discuss throughout the year. We also partner with the local shelter during the holidays, and we adopt families and provide them, gifts and food. So from that standpoint, that's part of our culture. I think, as you were alluding to, Jan, part of the challenge that we've always had is who's really driving that, and is that human resources, and that's been hard because if you don't have an employee population that's willing to kind of own it and drive it, it does fall on HR. And so that's what we've been toying with back and forth is, can we get an employee group together to actually identify a Habitat for Humanity type concept? And in the past we have. The continuum is hard. So we tend to be inconsistent with that, and we need to be better.
Great. And Keith, I'll pose the same question to you.
Sure. We have 20 hours paid for any volunteering that our employees do annually. And we also provide a matching fund. So if I give to a nonprofit, let's just say $50, Cascade Engineering will match that $50 for me. So it really generates additional monies for these nonprofits in desperate need of it. And it also encourages all of our employees to get involved in volunteering.
That's great. That's great. I love the match dollar for dollar too with giving to organizations in need. Well, if no one else has any questions, I'm going to wrap this up. I have a few things to remind you of. Thanks so much to our panelists. I really enjoyed this. I love that it worked, and I love that we were all able to talk together. So thank you. Thank you very, very much. And to our audience, I hope you enjoyed today's program and you took at least one thing away that you can implement immediately. I know I came out with a number of them. A reminder that you'll receive a SurveyMonkey evaluation from me, and that's where you'll indicate your wish to receive a certificate for continuing education. Also, this program was recorded, and it will be available on the Best and Brightest website early next week, so you can show it to your teams if you'd like to. And for our presenters, you can put it in the scrapbook or send it to Mom. So I appreciate it very, very much, and thank you all. I see a comment right now. Fantastic presentations. So thank you again, and with that, we will log off for today.
Thank you, Jan.
Thanks, Jan.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the webinar for today, and we do thank you for your participation.